Ghost Captain by Patrick O'Brien, read by Robert Hardy. At first dawn, the swathes of rain drifting eastwards across the channel parted long enough to show that the chase had altered course. The Cherwell had been in our wake most of the night, and now they were not much above a mile and a half apart. The ship ahead was turning, coming up into the wind. Then the grey rain closed in. But at present everyone on the crowded quarterdeck knew what lay behind that drifting, formless veil, a French ship of the line with both her rows of gun-ports open. And there was not one who had missed the slight movement of the yard that meant she was about to lay her foresail to the mast, heave to, and wait for them. The Cherwell was a 32-gun, 12-pounder frigate, and if she got close enough to use the squat carronades on her quarterdeck and forecastle, as well as her long guns, she could throw a broadside weight of metal of 238 pounds. A French line of battleship could not throw less than 960. No question of a match, therefore, and no discredit in bearing up and running for it, but for the fact that somewhere in the dim sea behind them there was their consort, the powerful 38-gun, 18-pounder D. She had been well in sight at nightfall and had responded to a signal to chase from Captain Griffiths, the Cherwell's senior captain. The two frigates would still be heavily outgunned by the ship of the line, but there was no doubt that they could take her on. The captain levelled his glass at the D, whose topgallant sails were now clear above the jagged edge of the sea. He was alone there, leaning on the rail on the wholly starboard side of the quarterdeck, and from time to time, when they were not looking at the Frenchman or the D, the officers glanced thoughtfully at his back. A decision must be made quickly. The feeling of those eyes on his back filled Captain Griffiths with rage. An unusual number of eyes, for the Cherwell had several officers and a couple of civilians as passengers, one set from Gibraltar and another from Port of Spain. One of them was Captain Aubrey, lucky Jack Aubrey, who'd set about a Spanish 36-gun Xebec frigate not long ago with the Sophie, a 14-gun brig, and had taken her, the Cacafuego. It had been the talk of the fleet some months back, and it made the decision no less difficult. Captain Aubrey was standing by the aftermost larboard carronade with a completely abstracted, non-committal look upon his face. From that place, being tall, he could see the whole situation, the rapidly, smoothly changing triangle of three ships. And close beside him stood two shorter figures, the one Dr. Maturin, formerly his surgeon in the Sophie, and the other a man in black who might have had intelligence agent written on his narrow forehead. They were talking eagerly in a language thought by some to be Latin. Captain Griffiths turned from the rail, and with laboured calmness he said, "Mr. Berry, make this signal. I am about to—" At this moment the ship of the line fired a gun, followed by three blue lights that soared and burst with a ghostly effulgence in the dawn. Before the last dropping trail of sparks had drifted away downwind, she sent up a succession of rockets, a pale, isolated Guy Fawkes night far out in the sea. "What the devil can she mean by that?" thought Jack Aubrey, narrowing his eyes. "On deck!" roared the lookout in the foretop. "There's a cutter pulling out from under her lee." Captain Griffiths's telescope swivelled round. The cutter, fast and beautifully handled, certainly a smuggling craft, came to under the Cherwell's lee, lost her way, and lay there as trim as a gull, rising and falling on the swell. A row of brown, knowing faces grinned up at the frigate's guns. Captain Griffiths hailed her master over the lane of sea. "Come aboard," he said suspiciously. The master came up the stern ladder with a bundle under his arm. He swung easily over the taffrail, held out his hand, and said, "Wish you joy of the peace, Captain." "Peace?" said Captain Griffiths. "Yes, sir. I thought I should surprise you." They signed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?